Now President Trump is preparing to shift from words to actions, issuing a ceasefire ultimatum to Putin. Make peace with Ukraine by Friday or face punishing U.S. sanctions. Trump says White House envoy Steve Witkoff is heading to Moscow as soon as Wednesday in what Ukraine is calling Russia's last chance to end the war. A Kremlin spokesman wouldn't confirm the meeting, but says Russia is, quote, always happy to see Trump's envoy, calling their contacts with him useful and important. The Kremlin also says Putin is willing to meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky if, and there's always an if Russia's preconditions are met. And he added, at this time, they are not. Zelensky called for a direct meeting with Putin just 3 days ago. But a top advisor in his office is urging the U.S. to go ahead with secondary sanctions, saying that Russia is losing momentum and new penalties from the U.S. could strangle Russia's economy. These sanctions would target countries buying Russia's oil, including China, India, and Turkey. But even President Trump admits it may not be enough to grind down Putin's war machine.
There'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens.
President Trump is already taking action against at least one major Russian oil importer. He posted on Truth Social today that he is substantially raising India's 25% tariff rate for buying and profiting off Russian oil, while people in Ukraine are killed by the Russian war machine. India responded by saying it has no plans to stop buying and reselling Russian oil and called the sanctions, quote, unjustified and unreasonable. As efforts to reach a ceasefire continue, so too does the fighting in Ukraine. And that is where we find NewsNation's Robert Sherman tonight, live for us in Kyiv. Robert, 3.5 years of war, and the bombs there are still dropping.
Just about every night here, Elizabeth, creating a constant state of fear and dread with no clear indication on the ground here that this will stop.
On the surface, Kyiv looks and feels like any other European city, but looks can be deceiving.
Because you know that you're in constant danger, it makes you understand that your life is in constant threat, and it just like fills you with this desperation and fear.
That fear yielding new rituals, like the nightly pilgrimage underground for many into the subway stations, just in case. It's hardly an excessive precaution. 3.5 years later, Kyiv still coming under fire as Russia's missiles and drones rain down. Despite the air defenses, impacts are inevitable, and Ukrainians can only hope their homes and lives are spared. But those prayers are not always answered. The most recent major attack on Kyiv damaging districts across the capital, including a direct hit on an apartment building. Days of rescue crews combing through the rubble, looking for survivors. It's that same look on those countless faces that tell you all you need to know. Name by name, hour by hour, hope fades. Despite encouragement from loved ones to keep the faith, Katerina Naralnik already knows the truth.
My children are gone. They're not alive anymore.
It takes 3 days for the scope to come into focus. 31 killed, including 5 children. Over 150 more injured. Thursday morning's attack on Kyiv, the single deadliest since 2024. Other cities like Mykolaiv and Odessa hit as well in the following days, with heavy fighting ongoing in the east. All after President Trump announces new deadline of this weekend for Russia to move towards peace.
How common is this? How often do you have to respond to impacts on civilian sites like this?
Ordinary civilians are suffering every day.
And yet, in the shadows of war, life tries its best to go on.
Based upon the scale of the attacks that people have seen here, there is low optimism that anything is going to come out of this deadline on Friday here, as many on the ground here believe at this juncture Russia isn't even interested in peace. Elizabeth.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.